This video is of course made possible by Soundtex Energy. Stay tuned to see how you can pick up an all-new energy drink. There's no debate that Sergio Perez is one of the better drivers of our generation, and he's attained most of his Formula 1 success with midfield teams. But now in 2021, he's at a top team, Red Bull. But how did he get here? How did he accumulate all of his success in recent years? Today, we'll sit down and talk about the Mexican Maestro himself, Sergio Perez. Born in Guadalajara, Mexico, I'm sure I did not pronounce that correctly, he was introduced to motorsport at a young age via his brother Antonio being interested in it. Antonio would later become a NASCAR driver. Sergio started into karts in 1996 at the average age of 6. He started into his first year and ended up grabbing 4 wins and slotted into the runner-up position. In 1996, he participated in the karting youth class, where he was the youngest driver in the category, and he ended up picking up a win, 5 podiums, and finished 4th in the championship. In the next few years, he would compete on and off in shifter karts until 2004, and he got runner-up in almost every single season. In 2004, he would enroll in the Skip Barber Racing School series. If you don't know what the Skip Barber Racing School is, it's an entry-level racing school built to teach young drivers how to drive Formula cars. They've produced drivers like Alexander Rossi and Josef Newgarden, who, coincidentally, I have no clue who they are. Sergio would do decently and ultimately finish in 11th, with no wins and no podiums, so not an amazing debut, but he'll get better. The following year, Sergio would move to Europe to challenge the Formula BMW ADAC series with 4-Speed Media. He struggled and ended up getting a disappointing 14th with no wins, no podiums, and no poles. The following year, he would do much better, staying with 4-Speed and grabbing 2 podiums on the way to 6th in the driver standings. In 2006, Sergio would compete in 2 races in the A1 Grand Prix series with Team Mexico. He didn't do much, getting 15th and a DNF. 2007 rolled around and Sergio decided to place himself in the British Formula 3 National Championship with T-Sport Racing. Nothing much was expected from the Mexican, but he showed everyone he wouldn't take this sitting down, grabbing a whopping 14 wins and grabbing the championship by over 100 points. Now, people had their eye on the Mexican. The following year, he would compete in the British Formula 3 International Championship, where he again impressed mightily, grabbing 4 wins and 7 podiums on his way to P4 in the title. At first, this might seem like a disappointment, but he was up against some decent talents like Jaime Alguersuari, Oliver Turvey, Brendan Hartley, and Marcus Ericsson. His meteoric rise caught the eye of the late Adrian Campos, and he gave the Mexican a seat partnering Vitaly Petrov in the GP2 Asian Series. This series would be kinda meh for Sergio, only grabbing 2 wins and 3 podiums. So, again, meh. The next season, he would sign on for Arden Motorsport to contest in the main GP2 series, alongside Formula 3 graduate Eduardo Montara, and this season went about as well as Lando Norris trying to say basic words.
From our, I couldn't say that word earlier, statistics, how do I say it? Statistics.
Bruh.
He finished in P12 with the best finish of 2nd in Valencia. The next season, he would give GP2 another try, but this time, he would be a bit tired. But I'm never tired. How, you may ask? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Saki's running out of ideas. This video is made possible by the legends over at Soundtex Energy, an all-new energy drink for racers by racers. Head over to www.soundtexenergy.com and use code UPSHIFT1 for 10% off. Now, on to the rest of the video. He would challenge the GP2's championship with Barua Adex team, and he would challenge the title, but little did he know he was going to be up against a driver who is known to risk it all, to push the limits, and to never take no for an answer, Pastor Maldonado. Sergio would ultimately have to settle for runner-up with 5 wins and 7 podiums, just behind Maldonado by 16 points. At this point, Ferrari wanted Sergio in Formula 1, and they decided to promote him to their junior team, Sauber. And to tell you about his stint in Sauber, I've brought along a special friend.
So Sergio Perez arrived in the paddock in Melbourne for the first race of the season with a point to prove, and his F1 and Sauber career got off to an interesting start. Straight off the bat, at the Australian Grand Prix, he showed the world something that we know him very well for now, his tyre management, by being the only driver to gamble on a one-stop strategy. And it paid off as he crossed the line in 7th place ahead of his teammate Kamui Kobayashi for a very impressive debut, until both Saubers were disqualified for a technical infringement. So the Formula 1 world was excited to see what this new Mexican rookie could do. And while he did put in some good drives with a 7th place finish at the British Grand Prix and an 8th place finish at the Japanese Grand Prix, he never quite lived up to that debut race. He only finished in the points 5 times in the following 19 races, compared to 9 times for Kobayashi. And so, come the end of the season, Perez finished 16th in the standings on 14 points. But after all, this was his first season up against a teammate who had already competed in 21 races, so it's fair to say Perez had much more to give. So following this somewhat underwhelming debut season, he knew he needed to step things up if he wanted any hope of progressing to a better team. And step it up he certainly did. At the second race of the season at the Malaysian Grand Prix, he put in one of the best drives of the season to finish second, only just missing out on the race win by making a small mistake as he chased down race leader Fernando Alonso. But while Perez was a one-hit wonder in the previous season, he proved he could perform again as he finished third at the Canadian Grand Prix and then an incredible second at the Italian Grand Prix, having started 13th on the grid. This performance was so good that he received a legendary Niki Lauda hat raise, something Niki only did when he had witnessed greatness. So come the end of the season, he finished 10th in the standings on 66 points, 2 places ahead of his teammate Kobayashi on 60 points. And while Perez maybe could have been a bit more consistent, his performances were enough to attract the attention of the bigger teams. So following Lewis Hamilton's shock move to Mercedes for the 2013 season, McLaren called upon Sergio Perez to fill his spot.
Yep, that was the Racing Pilot, an awesome YouTuber and someone you should all subscribe to. All his social media links will be down in the description. Like he said, at the start of 2013, Sergio would sign on for McLaren, partnering Jenson Button, and this season would sadly play out about as well as Alessio Deletta's whole career so far. I need to stop making these jokes before I get sued. But to cut Sergio some slack, McLaren were already on their downward spiral, and even Button didn't manage to get on the podium. And if you want a bit more in-depth explanation of the season, head over to the McLaren video I did for a bit more understanding. Oh, and by the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider subscribing. It's 100% free, and it tells me that you guys are enjoying the videos, so please consider subscribing. Now on to the rest of Sergio's career. For the relationship turning for the worse, Jenson and Sergio didn't see eye to eye, and that ended up turning into Sergio leaving the team at the end of the season, getting replaced by Kevin Magnussen. For 2014, Sergio would find refuge in Force India. The season would start very slowly, getting P10 in the opening round in Australia, and not even getting to start in the Malaysian Grand Prix. But his fortunes would change, however, in Bahrain, where he would grab his first podium for Force India. The rest of the season would play out again, where he got P10 in the standings with only that one podium in Bahrain. The next 2 seasons would play out decently, with Sergio getting an abundance of podiums, including his famous podiums in Russia and the controversial 2016 Monaco Grand Prix, where Red Bull decided Ricciardo didn't really need tires. 2017 would come around, and Sergio would get a new teammate in the upcoming Mercedes Junior Esteban Ocon, and immediately it seemed like these two wouldn't get along, with lots and lots of incidents where the pair would shove each other off track, and it finally came to a T in Spa where Perez thought the Wall and Esteban could be really good friends. Another incident in Canada where the pair got extremely close to contact and Esteban was forced off in the race, and that could have been his maiden podium. The two drivers clearly did not want to be together, but both re-signed for another year. In 2018, there would be even more controversy, not only between the drivers, but within Force India itself when they went into administration. The team ended up having to sell itself, and Sergio went out to find buyers. Lawrence Stroll bought the team and fully acquired it in the Belgian Grand Prix under the name Racing Point. And at the same Grand Prix, Esteban Ocon would qualify an incredible P3. Controversy would strike the drivers again, however, in the floodlights of Singapore, when, on the first lap, it seemed like Perez purposely crashed Esteban Ocon out of the race. But here, let's get your guys' opinion. With Stroll buying the team, it inevitably meant that his son, Lance Stroll, who was a Williams driver at the time, was coming to the team. so the battle between the pair became even more sour, with one of them having to be fired. Racing Point let Esteban Ocon go at the end of the year and re-signed Perez. The next season, nothing really of significance came out of it, so let's just skip to 2020. Racing Point in preseason testing looked like a force to be reckoned with, and it showed throughout the season with many extremely great performances by both drivers, and Perez outdrove his car in many races like Turkey, where he got P2, or in Sakir, where he got his amazing last to first win. At the end of the season, Alex Albon was struggling in Red Bull, and Sergio was signed on to replace him. Now, in 2021, he's at Red Bull, and with the performance he put in Bahrain with a pit lane to P5 race, I only see his season going up from here. But let me know what you guys think. How do you guys think he'll fare this season? Leave a comment down below, and remember to subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.